All right, we've got a couple more people that just joined. So hopefully I'm not an unfamiliar face, but Joe Fox is my name. I'm the director of upper school. I joined Barstow in eighth grade as an eighth grade student in 1999. I graduated in 2004 and never thought at that time I would come back and work at Barstow, but it's been a fantastic transition. Never thought I'd be in education. I thought I would be working on Wall Street or something like that, and tried that and didn't really enjoy it. And got into education because I thought of my teachers here at Barstow. That's a little corny to say, but I knew they enjoyed their jobs. And so I said, I'll give teaching a try. And almost 15 years later, I'm still at Barstow. I've been a fifth grade teacher. I've been a college counselor, spent 5 years as the associate director of college counseling, and was also the middle school athletic director, and have been in administration now 6 or 7 years. So it's been great to work at a place that has shaped my life and continues to shape so many lives. I have like 5 big topics that I want to make sure that I go through. One is Barstow's graduation requirements for upper school. 2 are the rigors of coursework that you will see in upper school. 3 is what a ninth grade schedule looks like. 4 is actually how students are completing the course request process logistically, and you can see it for yourself so you know exactly what they're supposed to be doing. And 5 is Barstow Global Online. We have questions every year about summer coursework that students can complete prior to actually beginning the school year next year. But like I mentioned, please feel free just to interrupt me when you have questions or something's unclear, because this is really for you all to get the information that you want to receive. So let's just start with Barstow's graduation requirements. We require 25 credits to graduate from Barstow over the 4 years of upper school. I talk to middle school parents a lot over the years. We don't have a GPA in middle school. We don't have a transcript in middle school. We have the grade report, that you get each quarter, and that's it. But starting in August, when students start their ninth grade coursework, the transcript process begins. What is the transcript? It is the document that we are eventually going to send to colleges that has all the classes you've taken in upper school and the grades that you've received in those classes. We only put semester grades on the transcript. We do not put quarter grades. The quarter grades with the semester exam grade all calculate into what is the semester grade, but that's what goes on the transcript, and that's what is sent to colleges along with a bunch of other information as well. And so it becomes a little bit more real as we start ninth grade, because we are working on that transcript that is going to be, it is a paper trail that's being sent to a college when the process is all said and done. So it's important, and we want students in ninth grade to just hit the ground running and do well and be successful. And we don't have like standardized testing as an example in ninth grade, because we want the foundation of the coursework to be the focus, along with trying all the activities and things that students, should be doing in upper school as well. So we are on a quarter and semester system. When you take a semester long class and you pass that class, you get a half credit. A year long class, you get 1 credit. And so students are accumulating credits throughout their 4 years. At Barstow, students take 6 or 7 courses each semester. So that's one of the first choices students get to make. Should I take 6 courses or 7? That means that ninth grade students will have 1 study hall or 2 study halls as they, each semester throughout upper school. What is best for your kid is a conversation you need to have based on a whole bunch of factors, what they're doing outside of school, the rigor of the classes they're taking. Sometimes parents assume that if they have, 6 classes and 2 study halls or free periods, that's an easier schedule. Well, not if the 6 courses are all AP courses, which we'll talk more about in a second, and that won't happen in ninth grade. But it does happen when you get to 11th and 12th grade. So the first main thing to decide with your child is, should I take 6 or 7 courses? Things I always suggest to students that they try to do as much as they can as possible in terms of completing graduation requirements, because 1, our schedule can always be adjusted. We'll have students that sign up for 7 courses that might drop a course well into the first semester based on a variety of factors, and that gives wiggle room and freedom that wouldn't be there if you had 6 courses. A lot of students want to play like athletics through the Missouri, through our programs here, which are run through the Missouri State High Schools Activities Association. And you need to have you need to pass at least 6 classes each semester to be eligible to play in those things. So if a student only takes 6 courses and for whatever reason they don't get through one because they had to drop it or they failed it, which doesn't happen often, but it does happen, they're now ineligible to play in some of the activities that they love. So I really do suggest to students, if they can take 7 courses, that's a good thing to do, because it provides flexibility and freedom down the line, in order to make changes if we need to. Let me go ahead and share my screen here just for a second, and I will bring up, going to bring up, you should be able to see my screen now. And I'm just going to use this email as a guide that I sent to students and also included parents. But the biggest document or resource at your disposal is the upper school course catalog, which is a massive document that we put forth every year. And I'll just point out the second page has changes, not so maybe pertinent to you all going through it for the first time, but in later years, the second page where I put a letter that outlines the major changes that have happened from one year's coursework to the next is important. But I really asked the 8th grade students to delve into the first, 10-ish pages, because it talks specifically about the graduation requirements that we have at Barstow, and goes pretty specifically into what is needed. So I mentioned the 25 credits are needed. If you take 6 classes throughout the 4 years of Barstow, that's 24 credits right there. If you complete the 80 hours of community service that we require of upper school students, you get a half credit with no coursework involved. So that brings you to 24 and a half credits. And if you were to, let's say, play a sport, for each semester that you participate, we give you a half credit up to the 1 credit requirement that we have. And so there is a pathway to graduate from Barstow with 25 credits, only taking 6 courses a semester. At the same time, we don't leave much wiggle room in that strategy if something unforeseen happens. So you should be able to see on your screen here are departmental requirements that we have in each of our categories. And I asked the students, I said, how do we come up with these requirements? Well, the vast majority of our students, probably 99.5%, are going to college and are college bound. And as a result, that's why we have these requirements. This is what colleges want to see. Every year, students take an English course. Every year, students take a math course. We require 3 science classes to be taken in upper school. It's biology in grade 9, physical science or chemistry in grade 10, and then an additional credit. We like for it to be a year-long credit. We have a ton of different options. 3 credits in history, ancient world history, grade 9, modern world history, grade 10, US history, grade 11. World language, 3 credits as well. Most of our 9th graders come in at the 2nd level of a language because they've done, middle school French as an example. And so they're ready for the 2nd level of middle school, or for French 2 at the upper school level. I always give a little bit of a word of caution, because with the 3 credit requirement, we want a student to hopefully take at least French 2, French 3, French 4. Now, of the 3 credits, we want 2 to be consecutive in the same language, and then a student can switch. So you could do French 2, French 3, and then if they wanted to switch to another language, they could do that. For some students, world language is not their cup of tea. It's not their strength. Well, nobody says that you have to go into French 2 if you've taken French in middle school. You can start with French 1 again in 9th grade as you build the transcript, and then do French 1, French 2, and French 3. So I've seen students over the years that have had some real academic struggle from the perspective of trying to start with French 2. And then that goes okay, but it's a little bit of a struggle. Then they hit 3, even more of a struggle. And then they're faced with a difficult decision. Do I take the 3rd year in French 4, which we know is going to be a struggle, or do we, try to switch to something else? And so sometimes the best strategy is just to start from the base level if world language is not your strongest subject. Go ahead, Crystal.
So, and I don't want to get too into the weeds on things that just apply to me, but Will is in 8th grade, obviously, but took upper school French. So does that mean, I don't know, I guess I don't know how that works. students?
Yeah,
'Cause
no, that's a
but
good question. It's a strange situation. Some we have sometimes where our middle school students are actually they've had more practice in a world language than some of our upper school students. So as a new 8th grade student, we put those 8th grade students in an upper school French 1 class, or Spanish class or Chinese class. And at the end of the year, theoretically, they come out at a similar level to a middle school student that has done 6th grade French, 7th grade French, 8th grade French. Basically, at middle school, we do 1 year of content over 3 years. Obviously, we do it much more in-depthly and with a lot more practice than you would get at the upper school French 1. But over the years, putting an 8th grade, a new Barstow 8th grade student into an 8th grade French class, we found that they were at a significant disadvantage because they were in a classroom with peers that had 2 years of everyday speaking under their belts. And the idea of putting a new 8th grader in an upper school French class is everyone's starting from the same baseline of 0 experience in the language, if that makes sense. So that's why we put
Right.
8th graders in an upper school French 1 class, but they are welcome upon being very successful to go into French 2 or Spanish 2 next year if it's a passion of theirs and they're skilled at it.
Okay, but if they want to stick with French 1, they could also do that. They could choose which path.
That's right. They could
Okay.
could repeat French 1 if they wanted to. They could choose a new language if they wanted to also.
All right, thank you very much.
Absolutely. And if anybody else has questions, shout them out, because I know I'm going through some pretty dense content pretty quickly, but it's something that you'll hear over and over again. And we're always available for questions about graduation requirements. And one of the things I try to do each summer is I actually print everybody's transcript and I review it and I put a comment on it. I put a note on it like, hey, keep up the good work. Remember, you need to complete, 3 years of world language, or as we get into the arts is a good example. So you need a performing art over the next 3 years. Thanks, Mr. Fox, that kind of thing. So I definitely want to get back in the habit post COVID of writing those notes to students. I haven't been able to do it over the last 1 or 2 years. So I hit world language, the arts, 2 credits. All 9th graders take a course that's called Art Fundamentals. It's a semester-long course. It's the pathway to all the other wonderful art classes we offer: ceramics, photography, drawing and painting, digital art, all of these many avenues you'll see as you go through the course catalog. We also want 0.5 credit of a performing art. That could be Barstow Singers, that could be acting. We say debate counts because you're performing, at tournaments. We say BTVN counts because you are in front of the camera performing. So there's a lot of options to get that 0.5 requirement in the performing art. And then in addition to that, we want one more credit at throughout the 4 years of upper school to get to the 2 credits. 1 credit in physical education. That's from playing sports. Students play 2 seasons of a sport. They have fulfilled that requirement. We also offer a course called Strength and Conditioning that's very popular among students. And by taking that course twice in your upper school experience, you get to the 1 needed credit. And then last you see here is leadership and service learning. And that is for, that's the 0.5 credit requirement for completing 80 hours of community service, but there's no course tied to that needed requirement. So by the time of graduation, students need 80 community service hours. We want them to do at least 20 each year. So we don't want them to put it off until grade 12 and then try to get 80 hours right before graduation. We want meaningful service built up through time, ideally with similar organizations that you build relationships with. Of the 20 hours we look for each year, we want 18 of those hours to be non-Barstow affiliated, going out into the community and finding what's a passion of yours and networking. And then 2 of the hours can be Barstow related. That could be working a concession stand or a score clock at an athletic event, helping clear out the lost and found with myself or Mr. Muhammad, that kind of thing. We have students at Barstow that go so far over the 80-hour requirement. It's really unbelievable. Hundreds and hundreds, if not thousands of hours over the 4 years of upper school. Go ahead, Crystal.
And students can they start their service over the summer?
Yes, great. Summer? I'm so glad that you mentioned that. Yes, any service done over this summer will count. Just keep a log of the hours and keep track of what they've done. If they're not already, one of the first things we do in ninth grade is get them set up in our X2 Vol software system, which is where they track and keep their hours logged. And so, once that occurs, then they can start just logging their hours. And that is a software program that all kids have access to, where they put in what they've done. But yes, anything this summer counts towards ninth grade.
Okay, and since the kids can pick, so like, would something like Wayside Waves be an acceptable?
Great.
Okay.
Yep. Be fantastic. We have a ton of kids that love that. Operation Breakthrough, very popular.
Okay.
But yeah, it runs the gamut. As long as they're, every once in a while I get some unusual questions about, sometimes we have to make some difficult decisions about what truly counts as community service, but anything along, Wayside Waves or Operation Breakthrough definitely counts.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Yeah. So that kind of goes over the graduation requirements that we have at Barstow. Keep in mind that if you add up the departmental requirements, they don't get to the 25 needed credits. And that's because we want students to pursue their passions. Just because we have, a 3 credit requirement in history, we'll have seniors graduate with 5-6 credits in history if that's a passion of theirs. Ninth grade is a little prescribed in the coursework that's taken, but as you get to 10th, and then in particular in 11th and 12th grade, what you can take is really pretty wide open. And we want students that maybe want to pursue an art college or an art career to be able to take multiple art courses in the same semester or in the same year. So I can recall numerous students with a passion for world language that by their senior year were in the AP level of all 3 of the languages we offer, French, Spanish, and Chinese, which is quite an accomplishment. But it is a pathway that we try to make happen for those students that want to delve deeply into the subject of their choosing. So these are just the minimum requirements. And if a student has done the job of knocking out those basic requirements we have, like physical education, like the performing arts, by the time they get to be a senior, other than an English and a math class that needs to be taken, the other classes in their schedule are pretty much wide open. And so they have a lot of freedom in what they choose. The only other thing that I want to point out to parents about the upper school course catalog, but go ahead, Tiffany, before I do that.
Just a quick question. I mean, do the students have like an advisor or somebody who kind of helps them along the way, making sure, we're not waiting till senior year to do all 80 hours of our, community service and stuff like that?
Yes, that's a great question too. So we have advisories, just like we do at the middle school level. They meet, I believe, today during lunchtime. And last week's advisory lesson was about course selection and going through this process. As the kids get older, they know what to do. We even had panels where seniors were visiting class meetings to talk to the other students about their experience in certain classes. Scott Hill and Kaylin Anderson, if you don't know about Barstow's college counselors, I highly recommend that you have conversations with them. And what they do this time of year, particularly with juniors, is have conversations about scheduling classes for next year, because what they'll do is be very honest with you about, if you want to go to the most selective colleges in the country, your schedule has to look a certain way. You need a particular number of AP classes and honors classes, and they're going to be very honest with you and provide that feedback. And so there's a lot of back and forth that happen in the process of course selection. And if you leave with one thing today, know that this is not a finite process where like you get your schedule in August and that's it, and there's no changes and we can't address any problems. David Kramer behind me here in the office behind me, he's working on the schedule all summer, and then his job never really stops because we have kids that are constantly switching classes, and then they're also constantly switching the rigor of those classes. And that's probably a good opportunity for me to talk about rigor. At the upper school level, we have 3 levels of rigor. We have college prep, we have honors, and we have AP. And so each one provides a different challenge. We have a weighted GPA system. So by taking honors and AP coursework and getting A's, you can get above a 4.0 GPA, where if you only took college prep coursework and got A's, you would just have a 4.0. All right. So that's something where as students get older, we just want students I just want a good fit for each student. I never want a student under challenged where they're going home and telling you they have no work to do, or so overwhelmed that they're not getting sleep at night. They're always stressed to a burdensome, hazardous level where you're concerned as a parent. So we try to find that middle ground. And at the upper school level, I think we do a nice job of having these varied rigor levels that can provide a good fit based on the student's academic ability, but also based on what they're doing outside of school, how many sports they might be playing, their community service work, are they employed? And it's about finding that balance so they can try to get everything done. All right. So in that conversation about rigor on the screen right now, and in the course catalog, we have this, I call it a flow chart for all of our departments, our academic departments. What you see is the math.
Next question.
Yep, go ahead. Go ahead.
Answer. And AJ tweeted me, how do I transfer my Marriott points into my Chase Ultimate Rewards?
Sorry. Oh, question on the chat here. Will they have the same advisor all 4 years? Yes, normally. We have talked about maybe switching it up in some capacity, but I do like the idea of having the same consistent faculty member, time and time again. So yes, they do have the same advisor all 4 years. So on the screen, you see our math flow chart here. This is the sequence of courses that students take. Algebra 1 is what all high schools and colleges basically consider the foundation level of high school math. A lot of our students are taking Algebra 1 as a 7th grader or an 8th grader. So that doesn't appear on the upper school transcript, but we do know that, if you're in geometry or Algebra 2, and that's what's printed for 9th grade, it's assumed by colleges that obviously you've taken the prerequisite levels earlier than 9th grade. So you can see the bold arrows indicate commonly traveled pathways that students take to complete their math coursework in this case. And the gray arrows are less traveled pathways, but at the same time, they are possible based on what you need to complete to move from one level to another. So you can see Algebra 1 goes to geometry. And then if you're on our most challenging track, we go to Algebra 2. The H signifies the honors level, but we have an Algebra 2 college prep level as well. And we also have an intermediate algebra class that students can take. And then after intermediate algebra, then they get to Algebra 2. All right. And you can see Algebra 2 tracks to AP Pre-Calculus, which tracks to Calculus, which tracks to, this is basically the equivalent to the second year of college level calculus. We have normally, that's our most advanced senior level course, but we also have students that are more advanced than that, and they get to these advanced math topics courses. All right. The other thing, a lot of times I get accused of only talking to those students that are at our highest level and want to seek admission to the most selective colleges in the country. We will have plenty of students that use this most challenging pathway throughout upper school. But we're also going to have plenty of students that throughout their 4 years of upper school don't take many honors, if any honors. So we've had students here that have just done college prep work all 4 years, and that's perfectly fine. They've taken Algebra 1 in 9th grade, geometry in 10th grade, intermediate algebra in 11th, and Algebra 2 in 12th. And they've been very successful too. And so when we talk about college admission and applications, we have some students here that they, in July, they take a credit card and they take 20 minutes and they self-report all their information to KU, K-State, Missouri State, Missouri Western, Pitt State, you name it. They're accepted within 48 hours and they're done. They know where they're going. Well, that makes us very happy. As long as the family's happy, we love that. We also have students that are going to apply to 15 to 20 colleges, writing supplemental applications, and it can take up a huge amount of their fall semester in 12th grade. So So that's something to keep in mind. We work with all kinds of students. Question on the chat says, is there a list of approved places kids can go out for community service? Yes. So when you get into our X2 Vol system, when you get into the X2 Vol system, there is a list of any organization that's ever come through the system, and it's a huge laundry list that students can look at to kind of see what might interest me that I can do. And can parents meet with advisors over the summer months? That's another question. Advisors are faculty members, and so the faculty members aren't working during the summer. So no, we don't want to pull them in when they're not contracted. However, I work all summer, and so does David Muhammad, and so does Scott Hill and Kaylin in the college counseling office. So you're welcome to schedule meetings with any of us at any time. Scott and Kaylin in our college counseling office are probably best equipped to answer those kinds of questions, and they work all summer, and most of their summer is spent meeting with families. And when I was in the college counseling office, I met with 3rd grade families, 5th grade families. Anytime a family wants to talk about college, great, we love that. So that process can start at any time. All right, so that's hopefully that paints a little bit of a picture as to what our graduation requirements are, and also what the rigors of coursework look like at Barstow. All right, now I'm just going to talk about the next big topic is, what does a 9th grade schedule look like, and how do 9th graders or current 8th graders choose the classes they want to take for 9th grade. All right, so we simplify the process for them pretty substantially, because all 9th graders take the following courses: English 9, a mathematics course. For most of our students, it's either geometry or algebra 2, and that algebra 2 is at the college prep or honors level. They take biology, they take ancient world history, and they take a world language of some kind. That's 5 classes right there. I mentioned the art fundamentals class, which is a semester long class. And so that's 6 classes. For a student that wants to take 6, that's one of their semesters is full. And then they get to choose another semester long class for the opposite semester, where they only have the 5-year-long classes. For students that want to take 7 classes, well, then there's more, classes that they, maybe they want to take debate. Maybe they want to take another history course. We have students that want to advance themselves maybe in mathematics and don't want to do it over BGO, our asynchronous online program. We'll talk about more in a few minutes. Well, they can take algebra 2 and geometry concurrently in the same year. So that becomes their 7th course that they take. BTVN, very popular. Our arts classes and acting and Barstow Singers, very popular. So a lot of different options with which a student can fill up their schedule, particularly if they want to take 7 courses. All right, so let me speak and show you exactly what the process that kids go through to tell Dr. Kramer what classes they want to take. I'm going to share my screen again here. All right, so we asked that they go through 2 places to tell us what courses they want to take. And so, where am I going? Oh, and so one is in My Barstow. So hopefully on my screen you can see the My Barstow, and I'm trying to keep the identity of the student a little bit confidential. But you'll see in these tabs, and you hopefully are familiar as parents, because you come to the progress section to see what kind of current grades they have, and the schedule. That's where they know what class what class they should be in when. Well, now you'll notice on your 8th graders My Barstow, there's a tab that says course requests, and so you click there, and then on the left hand side under available courses is every single course that we offer here at Barstow, and then under the selected requests in blue, these are the courses that we have populating a student's schedule. And below that, we have recommendations that teachers make. I think one of the strongest things we do at Barstow is we get to know your students. We get to know their strengths. We get to know what they might like, what they're passionate about. So, your child was in geometry, right, with Sean, and Sean is going to recommend to them whether algebra 2 college prep or algebra 2 honors would be a better fit based on his opinion. And sometimes, and most of the time, I'd say 95% of the time, that goes swimmingly and parents agree. And every once in a while, a recommendation is made that parents don't agree with, and then they have a conversation with Sean and get his thoughts. And sometimes I get involved in that conversation to say to the parents, well, the school doesn't really recommend that for your child, but you're the parent of the child. So if you want them to try AP Physics, certainly we'll put them in AP Physics. It may not go well. They may not get an A or a B. They might get a low grade, but as long as we're being transparent on the front end about the potential for struggle, that's no problem. Then we'll put them in that course. And so those are conversations that occur as students normally get older and matriculate to more advanced coursework, and we have more options that can be taken. So you can see in this student's My Barstow profile, we have already populated the courses that all students take: English 9, biology, ancient world history, art fundamentals. Those that we know that the students are going to take those courses. So then the student will see that Algebra 2 college prep and Algebra 2 honors have been recommended by the teacher. So that's a conversation you get to have at home. Do I want to try the honors level, the more challenging level, or do I want to take the college prep option? And the fact that the student's been recommended for either level, the teacher thinks that the student can be successful in either level. And so let's say Algebra 2 honors was the choice. You would just click this plus sign, and you can see it moves from this recommendation up into, you can see it there listed as the first class in blue. And then maybe the student's been in middle school BTVN as an elective and they've really enjoyed it and they want to continue at the upper school level. And so we have it in here as a recommendation. They can just hit the plus sign and it goes into this box as well. Dr. Kramer is going to want 8 choices of additional classes to fill out a student's schedule, because unfortunately we can't always give the first choice. And so we're actually going to have quite a few classes listed in this box right here. Okay, let's talk about world language. I didn't put that in there. You can see the student's been recommended for Spanish 2. So I could click on this plus sign right here and add it right into the mix if Spanish 2 was the correct, is what the family wanted to do. Maybe the family doesn't want Spanish 2. Maybe the student and parent, they want to switch to a different language. Okay, I click on this world language tab here and I'll find Chinese 1 and I can hit request. And now Chinese has populated in here. Maybe I want to start with Spanish 1 again, like I mentioned previously about, not taking a course that might be too challenging in the future. Well, then you can just request Spanish 1. All right. And so after you get your core classes taken care of, the English, the math, the science, history, world language, then we're going to have a choice for each of those classes. Then that's when Dr. Kramer wants 8 choices that your students fill out. And that can be daunting for 9th graders. And every year I have 9th graders that are like, I want to take AP Physics. And it's like, well, you can't take AP Physics until you take biology, chemistry, regular physics, and then you can take AP Physics. So putting that down as a choice for 9th graders doesn't give Dr. Kramer many options. So we created this resource that I included in the email to students that says courses open to 9th graders. And so please use this as a guide when talking to your children about what courses could be right for them. Because not every course is going to be available to them in 9th grade. It will be by 12th grade, but not right now. So you can see we have a ton of different options, and students really need to choose 8 of them, and they need to populate them into My Barstow. So if you were interested in, 3D art, let's say, you could go to the tab that says the arts, and then 3D art is right here. And you hit request, and then that gets added into the blue box. There it is there at the bottom. And so that is the process with which students go through My Barstow to tell Dr. Kramer the courses they want to take. And that's great from our data management system. It populates for him so he doesn't have to do it by hand, the courses that each student wants to take. But what it does not do well is it does not tell Dr. Kramer, of the 8 choices that students want to take in addition to their core choices, which one is most important to them and which one is least important to them. So after the student goes through My Barstow, we also want them to fill out a Google form that Dr. Kramer asks students to go through and put their name and their class year. And then they're going to tell Dr. Kramer how many study halls or free periods they want. I've used that terminology a few times. All 9th graders start with study halls for the first semester of 9th grade. And then after the first semester, everything's going well. They're getting the job done academically. They're great citizens in the school environment. Well, then second semester, that turns into a free period. what is a free period? It's one of the things I enjoyed as an alum of Barstow. We really try to make the upper school experience and take college prep seriously and make it as close to a collegiate experience as you can get at the high school level. Free period is where students don't have to be anywhere in particular. They need to stay on campus, but they can go outside and walk the track if they want to. They can work in the hallway with their friends. They can be in our upper school commons behind me. They can sit in the lunchroom during non-lunch hours to just, hang out with friends. No attendance is taken. And as long as they're on property, it's a very free and independent experience for students. And I always say, this is a place of great freedom, and with it is great responsibility at the same time. But we do operate a study hall at all hours of the school day, hours 1 through 8. So ninth graders start in study hall. We have a bunch of sophomores through seniors that want to be in study hall. They choose to be in study hall because it's more structured, and we do take attendance, and they want a place to be, or their parents want them to be in a particular place at a particular time. And then we have some students that we say, you need to be in study hall until we see these benchmarks improved upon. And so we kind of run the gamut with all these different options. But that's why I keep using the term study hall and free period, because they transition from one to the other throughout ninth grade. I should also mention that in English, in biology, in ancient world history, at the spring semester in January, students will have the option to self-select whether they want to move up to the honors level or stay at the college prep level. And the teachers in class talk to the students about what is involved in the honors versus the college prep level. And then students get to make that choice in conjunction with their parents, of course. They stay in the same room. The schedule doesn't change. A lot of times it might be more citations in a paper, or more, the quality of work, the expectation goes up a little bit. It might be a little bit of a longer paper, or it might be on a different topic. But Lindsay does, as an example, using English, she does a great job explaining to students what would be the difference between honors and college prep. And then again, that's not a finite decision. Just yesterday, I actually saw an email from Lindsay to parents that said, hey, we're struggling here. The semester's ending very soon. I think we need to adjust and go back down to college prep. I think that's a better fit for your child. And, and I don't want their grade to be really so poor that we are putting a really bad mark onto a transcript. And the student ended up being switched to college prep now. And that's, school ends in 3 days. So when I say that we make schedule changes literally all year, I mean it. So there's a pretty practical example. And so students do the My Barstow, then they complete this Google form, and that's the end of the process. Once they complete those 2 items, they've given Dr. Kramer all the information that he needs, and then he spends all summer putting those schedules together. And he's also sending emails to parents all the time if he needs any additional information. Chat question. Can you do classes over the summer? That's a beautiful segue into the 5th topic I have on my list, and the last topic, which is BGO, Barstow Global Online. So the answer is yes. Barstow Global Online is our asynchronous online platform. That means that it's not a live interaction. We have classes in a platform called Schoology. Students work at their own pace through the courses. And there are some live opportunities to Zoom with teachers twice weekly to get questions answered. But for the most part, students are learning the material at their own pace. And there are some courses that have been very popular to upper school students over the years. Biggest examples would be math courses. Students that want to advance themselves in mathematics. We can't use the summer course as a substitute. Like, I'll take Algebra 2 over the summer, so next year I don't have to take a math class. We do not want students going, a year without math instruction. So these classes for Barstow students are supplemental. I want to take Algebra 2 or geometry over the summer so that next fall I can be in pre-calculus instead of Algebra 2, right? Is that a good idea for your student? That's the first question. The first question I always get from kids and parents is, well, should my student do that? And I say, I don't know. You know, should they? I don't have a crystal ball. That's where it becomes difficult. So I have seen situations where it's extremely successful. Student signs up for summer online classes. They do beautifully. They go to the next level of mathematics. They knock it out of the park. Fantastic. I've also seen situations where students sign up and they don't even open the platform until July 15th. You know, keep in mind, we're doing a year's worth of mathematics in the 8 to 10 weeks of summer. And by the time they see how much work is involved, they're like, wow, you know, they just wasted some money. And now we don't put that on the transcript because we don't want to, you know, really harm the student in terms of their, you know, in terms of their college, you know, the acceptances at a point in the future. But it's unfortunate to see, because when the student signs up and it does cost extra money, we want them to be successful. And so, do the credits count towards graduation requirements is another chat question. And the answer to that is yes. So a student that right now wants to take coursework this summer, we would put that on the transcript. The grade that's received in that course is calculated into Barstow's GPA. And so that gets the process started. So that's why it's so important that the students do well if they're going to take a summer course. And by do well, I mean, you know, I don't mean they get an A+. I mean, they put forth the effort. You know, sometimes people hear me say do well and they associate it with a numeric grade. That's not what I mean. I felt like I did very well here. I got a lot more B's and C's than I got, you know, A's over my years. And that's perfectly fine. I always say it's extremely difficult here at Barstow to get A's and A+. It's also extremely difficult here at Barstow to get D's and F's. You got to be working, you got to almost be actively working to get D's and F's because you're choosing to disassociate with the material. All right. So yes, they do count. And I would say that the biggest factor I've seen about success in summer online courses are, one, the students' attitude toward the course, wanting to do it because it's a passion of theirs. And they are very serious and they are driving the car in terms of wanting to do it, as opposed to being dragged by their parents or by peers to do it. So if the student, a lot of times, if I can tell that the student's excited, they want to do well, they're like, yeah, how do I do this? I'm like, great, I think that'll be a good fit. If I can tell the student's hesitant, but the parents really want them to do it, or they feel pressure to catch up to their friends because their friends happen to be in a more advanced math class, that's where I tend to see some struggles because the student really didn't want to do it in the first place. And then the second big thing I see is families assuming that they have free time in the summer to get some of this stuff done. And then by the time they vacation and they do debate camp and summer camp at Barstow and all these different things and maybe find a job, they just say, hey, I just couldn't even get to this class. I thought I could do it, but the time commitment ended up being way too much. And so those are things to consider because it is a significant time commitment. We have semester long courses. Those would be Python. It's a coding course, been very popular. We have AP Psychology, very popular. AP Comparative Government, popular. We've added a couple. I think Music Appreciation, as an example, would be one. Art Fundamentals is actually a class that we've had a lot of rising ninth graders take. Not so much to, yes, it fulfills that art fundamental requirement that all ninth graders have to take, and it does free up their schedule in the academic year to take another course. But the real goal is that it allows them to take more advanced art classes faster because they're passionate about art. So they take art fundamentals over the summer, and then that enables them right away to go into painting or photography or ceramics, you know, without having to take the first semester to do art fundamentals. I think I've hit on most of our, you know, most popular BGO courses. And so BGO has a website, and you can definitely check it out. And it's like going to the grocery store. You just pick the course you want to take, and you check out, and then you'll be given more information about when the course starts. And if you have any questions, you can always email me because I'll put you in touch with Minka Rudman, who operates BGO. So those, I know, you know, I always think it's going to take me 30 minutes, and then 45 minutes later, I'm going, and I know I go fast. And hopefully your head is not spinning. And hopefully you found this information I hope you found it useful. But let's open it up for questions. You can chat the questions. You can just unmute and ask a question, and we'll go from there. So I just got a chat question. The BGO course descriptions are succinct. Is it possible to see a syllabus or a longer description? Excellent question. Email me. I will put you in touch with Minka, who will know more. That's a very good question. Other questions? Okay, another one. Okay. What about laptops? Will there be more info about that? I can certainly cover that now. Yeah, and let's talk about some summer. We can. I always keep my calendar wide open, so I enjoy these, and I want to answer as many questions as I can about upper school or about anything in particular. Technology next year, very simple. Bring your own device. I would say for 95% of students, it's a Mac laptop of some kind. Does it have to be? No. We have plenty of students that use plenty. We have 5%, I would say, that use a tablet or an iPad. Some of our debate students like to use a PC device. I don't know if it's because they're using a lot of Microsoft Word and Office products, but that seems to be who's using a PC device. Really, the students get a computer of some kind or a device of some kind. We hook them up to the Wi-Fi. We don't even hook them up. They hook themselves up because they're savvy like that. And we do hook them up to various printers around the building, and they're good to go. And so we're basically a Google platform school. They're going to be using a lot of the same things they're already using: Google Docs, Google Sheets. They already have email addresses. That just kind of continues throughout the upper school level, but it's very simple. There is a summer book list, and so that'll be I'll share that here in a few days as we head into the summer. But just like you've experienced in middle school, we want students to read. We want students to read 2 books over the summer. Come to school prepared with those books already read. Question about lockers. Yes, that's been a little bit of a popular question. We're working on a solution. We have some ideas. It's a budgeting and when it can be done, but feel free to email myself and Liz Bartow to have more of a. I can tell you it won't be lockers, but certainly I'd like more seating in the hallways, and I'll also like some storage options where students don't have to carry around everything all day, where they can have a place where they can put their belongings. It's secure for the most part. Even when we had lockers here, they were never locked. Nobody ever locked their locker, but certainly so they don't have to carry things all day from place to place. Other questions? Well, I really appreciate everyone taking the time. Hopefully everybody knows. Oh, sorry, I got another chat message. I missed a question here on the chat. Will we stay with the block scheduling? Yes, we are planning to stay with the block scheduling. Let me talk about that for a second in some greater context. Just like you're seeing at the middle school level, Monday, all 8 classes meet for about 40 minutes in length. Tuesday through Friday, that's where we have the block. 4 of the 8 classes meet longer period of time, 80 minutes. We have seen unbelievable growth in the use of IdeaSpace. So we have classes that just meet at IdeaSpace. Woodworking as an example, our computer science classes as examples, makers classes. Those meet regularly Tuesday through Friday at IdeaSpace. In addition, the volume of regular on-campus teachers that have sought out special projects at IdeaSpace has been fantastic. It's grown significantly. So now we have a situation where I started the year thinking that only these students would be at IdeaSpace at these times. And now we're in a situation where really at any time, based on teachers' appetite to go do special projects over there, we have students going back and forth all the time. So the biggest block schedule change we're thinking about putting into place is decreasing the rotation in the schedule, because right now, it's 1 through 8, and then it's 4 through 1, and then it's 8 through 5, and then it's 1 through 4. And so the result of that is you have English first thing in the morning, and then in the afternoon, and then in the morning again. And we might decrease the rotation that we have in the schedule in those ways without changing the block. So it would basically, 1 through 8, and then maybe 1 through 4, 5 through 8, 1 through 4, 5 through 8. So there's more consistency in tracking where students are on the main campus versus Idea Space. And it's easier on the bus schedule as well, because we know if you have an Idea Space class that those are going to occur, right away, first thing in the morning. It helps with transportation. You can drop kids off, at Idea Space instead of, having them maybe be dropped off on Tuesday and then their next class is Thursday afternoon. So they don't have the ability to be dropped off, and they're taking a bus only once a week, getting kids into more of a routine schedule. Another question. How will Idea Space classes at the end of the day work with sports teams that have to leave early to get to a game? Good question. Another example as to why the rotation of the schedule we've found to be a little bit harmful, in that, one, if the student's at Idea Space and needs to get back to campus, yes, we run a bus. Often that bus hits the traffic issue that we have on campus. And so even though the student gets on the bus when classes end at 3:30, they may not get to practice until 3:45 or 3:50 based on the traffic, through the drive into the circle. So not having as much rotation in the schedule allows us to say to Dr. Kramer, we don't want Idea Space classes at the last hour of the day. So we don't have this problem at all. If a student does use Idea Space, then it can be scheduled at other times, so it doesn't interfere with after school activities and going back and forth. The exception would be that special project that a school or class wants to do, but the student, that'll happen on a case by case basis, and it won't happen with the regularity of a student, every Thursday being late to practice because they were on the Idea Space bus and it got caught up in traffic. All right, well, I successfully recorded this, so that's good. So I always tend to forget to hit the record button. So I'm glad we got this recorded. I'll share this with parents. I thank everybody for their time. If you leave, I've left you with a couple big nuggets, but the other one is this. I have the easiest name in Barstow's directory, Joe Fox, joe.fox@barstowschool.org. Feel free to drop me a line. It's a little hectic here over the next 7 days as we conclude the school year, but I work all summer. So if you have questions, I'm very easy to find. You know where to find me. Drop me a line. And I really appreciate everybody taking the time to join me. And you all asked wonderful questions. So if you have specific scheduling questions, David Kramer or myself is the person to contact. But I wish everybody a great summer and look forward to seeing everybody next year. Thanks so much.